Guys, let's see what happens to Cyrano. We left off on page 485. Remember where Degish had gone away to go clean his guns, and the soldiers got the feast out, and they're eating this feast, and all of a sudden Degish is coming back. So they're like, hurry, hide everything. We don't want to share any of the food with him. So they start hiding all the food, shoving it into tents, and hiding all the food. Degish comes in, he's like, wait a minute. I smell something. Something smells good, right? So he can smell something, and they're all just kind of looking around like, no, I don't know. And Takesha's like, why are you guys looking happy? Like, you all seem happy. And there's like, I don't know. And he asks the captain, he's like, why are you looking happy? And he's like, Mom, no, I don't know. And then Dagish says, well, I had one gun left over, so I left it over there for you guys. And it's like, oh, thanks. That's so kind of you, right? And so then he says to Roxanne, have you decided? Like, are you going to leave and be safe? And she says, nope, I'm going to stay here. And he's like, but you have time to escape. You need to go. And she says, no. And so then Dagish says, well, okay, then somebody give me a gun and I'm going to stay here also. So all of a sudden, Dagish gets this bravery. He's like, if this woman is going to stay, he can't be shown up by a woman, right? So if Roxanne's going to stay, he would really look like a coward if he left. So he says, okay, well, then I'm going to stay too. And Cyrano's like, wow, you show courage. And so everybody's like, wow. So they're impressed that Dagish is going to stay. So they're like, maybe we should share the food. They're like, okay, you want some food? And so then they uncover the food and show it to him so then he can have some food as well, because he's decided that he's going to stay and fight with them. So then Dagish is going to go inspect some of the men up on the parapet. And so he says to Roxanne, will you come with me? So she takes his arm and goes with him. And this is the chance, right, for Cyrano and Christian to have a conversation. So Christian goes over to Cyrano and he's like, hurry up. What do you have to tell me? What do you have to say? What is it? And Cyrano's like, well, if Roxanne, he's like, yes, what? Well, if Roxanne mentioned something to you about the letters, he's like, yeah, I know. Well, if she mentioned something to you about the letters, don't act surprised. And Christian's like, okay, why would I be surprised? And Cyril's like, well, because you might have written to her more often than you think. And Christian's like, what? What are you talking about? So I was like, well, I took it upon me to just write to her, and I wrote sometimes without. And Christian's like, what? Without me knowing? And Cyril's like, yes, I wrote without you knowing. And Christian's like, okay, that's fine. How did you send the letters? And Cyril's like, well, I before daylight, I kind of managed to. And Christian's like, ah, I see. Okay. So I wrote to her. How many times a week did I write to her? Two, three, four. Cyrano's like, more than that. He's like, every day? Cyrano's like, yes, every day, every single day. The Christian's like, you wrote to her every day and you put yourself in danger and went behind the enemy lines to deliver these letters. So he's starting to get a little bit angry. Like, there's more to this than him just wanting to write letters for me. All right. And so he's getting a little bit angry. And so Cyrano sees Roxanne coming back. He's like, shh, like, let's not fight about it in front of her. Right. So Roxanne comes back. Cyrano leaves, goes into the tent. So Roxanne and now Christian are going to have a conversation. So Christian's like, okay, tell me, Roxanne, why did you come here? Why did you face danger to come here to see me? And she says, because your letters, they were just so beautiful. And what you said in those letters, it just meant so much to me. And everything you said, I felt like you were giving me another piece of your heart. And I learned so much more about you, got to know you better, and your letters were just so sweet and so strong and so true. And Christian's like, so you felt all that, did you? And she's like, yes, you know how I feel. He's like, so you came because. And she's like, yeah, I came to you to say, forgive me for loving you before only because you were beautiful. And now she realized like how shallow that was. She's like, forgive me for loving you only because you were beautiful, and I didn't appreciate you for who you really were. And now that you've written me all these letters and you bore your soul to me, and now I just know who you truly are on the inside, and it's so beautiful, and now I love you for the person that you are because you revealed your heart to me that way. And of course, Christian this whole time is thinking, oh boy, right? Because that wasn't him. That was Cyrano. She fell in love with Cyrano's words. And she's like, I not don't love you anymore just because you're beautiful, but because of your heart and your words and what's inside. And so of course, you know what that means for Christian. So he's like, I don't want this kind of love. I don't want a love like this. I want only a love for. And she's like, what? You mean you want somebody to love you just because of the way you look? I can love you for more than that. And he's like, no, it was just better the way it was before. She's like, no, you don't get it. She said, I love you for your own self now, truly. She said, if you were less lovable, less charming, even if you were ugly, I would still love you. And what do you think Christian thinks when he hears that? When she says, even if you were ugly, I would love you now. Oh boy, right? He knows what that means. And he's like, do you really mean that? And she's like, yes, I do. And he's like, if I were ugly? And she said, yes, even then. And Christian goes, oh no. And of course, she's confused. She's like, what? She's thinking that everything she's telling him should make him happy, right? And thrilled. But instead, he's upset because he just found out, he's pretty sure, he has the suspicions that Cyrano loves Roxanne because he wrote to her every day. He went behind enemy lines to deliver these letters that he didn't even tell Christian about every letter. And now she's saying, I love you because of the letters, and I would love you even if you were ugly. So now Christian he just doesn't know what to say. And Roxanne's like, what is it? What's the matter? And he just kind of pushes her away gently and says, only nothing, just give me a minute. And she's like, but, and he's like, just go see the other cadets, go talk to the soldiers and smile at them and make them feel better because they're going to die soon. And she's like, Christian. And he says, go. And so she goes and talks to the cadets, and he goes to where Cyrano is, and he says, Cyrano. And Cyrano comes out of the tent. He's like, what is wrong? Like, you look awful. What is terrible? And that's where we end. All right. So tomorrow, you're going to read page 493 to 503. So you're going to finish this act. You're going to see what happens in this conversation now. Very, very vital, important conversation between Cyrano and Christian, and see what happens at the end of Act 4. Okay. Then tomorrow, make sure that you tune in at 11:30, and I will talk through what happens at the end of this act and review and get you ready for the quiz that we'll be having tomorrow over Act 4. So make sure you tune in at 11:30, and I will see you tomorrow.